Hey everyone, welcome to another master class here where we discuss all of your essentials for astrophotography. So today we're going to discuss calibration frames and if I shoot them at all, which I actually shoot calibration frames in some cases, but we're going to talk about throughout this when you should not shoot them. So I've gotten quite a few questions about this over the last few weeks and months, just discussing with different people. And many people think that you always need to shoot calibration frames for all of your astro, and I here to tell you that's not true. So I'll tell you when you don't need them and when you probably do need them. So we'll get into it. If you don't know who I am Sam Groth, and I lead astrophotography workshops and do online astrophotography education through Growth Galleries Astro. You can find me down at the links. And yeah, let's get into calibration frames. So probably there's some of you out there who may not know what calibration frames are. So first let's do a quick introduction to the concept of what that means. So when you're capturing a whole bunch of images that are really long exposure with your astrophotography, you may see different types of artifacts and noise in your image that you may not be super happy with your results, and some of it is harder to fix with just Photoshop or Pixinsight or whatever editing tools that you might be using. So in order to correct a bunch of the different problems that you could have with your astro images, especially when you are stacking multiple tracked images that are like 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute exposures, you want to do capture some calibration frames that will allow you to correct for different types of noise and vignetting and dust on your sensor, flash lens, etc. So I guess what I'll do is I'll bring up an image of each of these different types of problems that you might see with your images, and we'll discuss the types of calibrations for correcting those things. So let's see. So actually, I don't have some super dusty images, but I do have some calibration frames, so we can look at them. So we're gonna start with a dark frame. So we'll pick one of my dark frames here. We'll open it up. And you can see here that there's just a bunch of grainy noise. So you may be wondering what that is. Are they stars in the sky or whatnot? No, these are actually like probably mostly some sort of like hot pixels on my camera sensor. So how I capture an image like this is, instead of actually capturing a image of the sky with the telescope or my camera lens looking at the sky, what I do is I put the lens cap on top of the camera lens or telescope, just to make it a complete blackout situation. And then what I do is I shoot about at least 20-ish exposures at the same duration as the light frames that I'm capturing. So if I'm like pointing my telescope or camera lens at the sky and I'm taking a 1 minute exposure, I'll capture 21 minute exposures with the lens cap on. And yeah, so this is called a dark frame, and then you take in my case, what I usually shoot 20 dark frames, and then you put them into an integration tool, which will take the dark frames, blend them all together, and then produce a what's called a master dark frame, and then it will subtract the noise from your stacked light frame images. So you can see all of these hot pixels, and other noise here would just be removed from the actual integrated image of the images that I took of the sky. So these can be any duration, right? So this particular one here, this dark frame is a 30-minute dark frame. So I was capturing some 30-minute frames with my telescope. Obviously, most of the cases, I don't recommend that you capture 30-minute exposures. For if you're just doing general wide field imaging, you want to capture mostly in the 1 minute range. I found is a really good sweet spot that is super easy to align your mount for and get pinpoint stars. But you can shoot 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's all reasonable at wide fields of view. So yeah, in those cases, right, if you did a 3-minute exposure, for example, you would do 3-minute dark frames, and you would capture 20 of those, do the integration, and then add them to or subtract them from the light frames that you are capturing, which are the light frames would be the images that you took of the sky with stars. So yeah, you can see here the example here. These are the really bright pixels that show up when you do a really long exposure. So yeah, that's a quick overview of dark frames, but that's not the only type of issue that you might see with your images. So we will talk about 2 other types of calibration. So let's open let's go with a flat frame here, and we'll pick one of these here. So you can see here the flat frame is slightly different. The flat frames don't have like a specific, I would say, like exposure duration or something like this. A flat frame is actually captured with your lens cap off. And you want to put some sort of light source in front of your telescope or camera lens. And you don't want that light source to be super bright, and you want it to be very consistent. So I've done that with a white screen on my laptop. I've done that with like a painting light board. You can also do it just by pointing it at the sky during the day away from the sun if the sky is not having like clouds or whatever that would cause the light to be inconsistent. But then the goal is to actually expose where the brightness of the image is following the pattern where all the brightness is in the center of the exposure. So you don't want your flat frames to be too bright. You don't want them to be too dark. You want a smooth, consistent, like big hill or whatever in the middle of your histogram here on your flat frame images. And so then what are you correcting for with flat frames? So you're correcting for the vignetting. So you can see the corners of the image here. You can see that the telescope is allowing more light through the center than at the corners, and so your camera lenses will have the same problem. If you properly expose your images, you might be able to avoid this and do some corrections in post-processing where you use Lightroom or Photoshop or something like that to correct with the vignetting. But in like a lot of cases, it's much easier just to do this correction with the calibration frames. What this particular example is not super good at showing is that I don't see any dust, but like if there were dust on your camera sensor or in your telescope or something, these flat frames would also do those corrections. So if there was like a blotch in the middle of this flat frame, you would know that there might be a dust spot or something else on your sensor that was causing your frames to not be perfect. So yeah, that's the main concept behind the flat frames, and these are probably, in my opinion, the most useful types of calibration frames, and they do a lot of corrections that are very hard for you to correct for in post processing. So yeah, so the last type of calibration frames we'll talk about here are the bias frames. So bias frames are shot with your lens cap on again, very similar to the dark frames, but instead of actually shooting like a long exposure with this, what you want to shoot is the shortest exposure possible with your camera. And so this will get other types of noise, as you can see here. So you might not see like the hot pixels and other problems that show up with the darks with the really long exposure, but you can still see there's a good amount of camera sensor noise here. And then what you want to do is, again, for all of these, I shoot about 20 frames per type of calibration. After you shot your 20 frames with this, then you can just do the integration with your main your frames of the actual sky with the target that you're trying to shoot. And so when you do the integration between your sky frames as well as the three different types of calibration frames, you'll end up with much cleaner results, especially for a deeper telephoto like lens or a telescope. So yeah, so coming to the title of this video, like when should you shoot a calibration frame? So I would say whenever you're using a telescope or any like more like deeper field of view, like maybe I don't know above like 90 millimeters, 135 millimeter lens, or beyond that, then I would say almost certainly you could benefit from shooting the three different types of calibration frames that I've discussed here. I should like mention, just to be complete on this topic, there are alternative approaches to capture these calibration frames. You can shoot something called dark flats and not shoot some of the other types, but like this is the process that I use. It's worked really well for all of my my camera and lens setups as well as my telescopes. So this is the process that I recommend, unless it doesn't work for you for some reason. Then you can look into the alternatives. So yeah, so for deep sky imaging, you should definitely be using these type of frames. So then when you should not use these. So anything else, I would say. So if you're shooting a wide field of view, I basically never shoot any calibration frames for my wide field imaging. Like all of the images that you see, all the images you see on my social media and stuff like that, all of these are actually shot without calibration frames. I just make sure that my camera lens is having a no dust on it, and that my sensor is really clean, and I never change my lenses in the field. So this really helps prevent there from being dust on the sensor. That doesn't mean I don't sometimes have dust on my sensor. I do sometimes. When I go do my integration of my frames, then I have to do corrections. So earlier this year, I did some shots of I think it was Orion. I don't remember exactly where it was, but when I integrated the shots, there was very clearly dust or other things on my sensor. And so then I had to sit there in Photoshop and kind of try to do some like what you would call cosmetic corrections. There are other ways to do that, but I was able just to add some mass in and kind of blend it so that it wasn't visible. Thankfully, it wasn't in a critical part of the image. So yeah, so that's the concept of calibration frames, and kind of when I would not be using those things and when I would be. So yeah, so I think for most of the cases where you are trying to actually just do standard imaging, I would say that you definitely don't need to be shooting these types of frames, and you can save yourself a lot of time. Like if you needed to go out and shoot different flat frames and dark frames and bias, it can take some time. So say you're shooting 2-minute exposures, and you want to do some dark frames for that. That's going to take you 20 of them, like I'm recommending. That's going to take you 40 minutes, right, to capture just the dark frames. So if you capture 20 images for your sky target, 4 to 20 frames for your darks, that's an hour and 20 minutes. Plus, then you have to shoot your biases and flats, which are also going to take you another, I don't know, like maybe another probably 15-20 minutes. So you're talking, instead of just shooting the 20 light frames for your imaging and then doing integration on those, if you shoot the light frames plus the calibration, you're talking over an hour and a half of imaging for what you could do, in my opinion, in 20 minutes just by shooting just the frames of the sky without any calibration. So yeah, that's just my general recommendation on calibration frames, and kind of like what they are as an overview, and then also like when I would use them. So yeah, just the summary. Anything that you're shooting with a telescope or anything over 90 to 135 millimeters, I would say probably a good idea to shoot calibration frames. The vignetting and other problems that the flats can correct can be really helpful. Anything wider than that, I would say just make sure your sensor and lens are really clean, not having a lot of dust. And then I would say just go shoot your main frames of the sky and do integration on those images, and don't worry about shooting any calibration. If you start seeing too much noise or other problems, then you might consider shooting some of these. But I would say for the most part, I have seen no need for that with any of my cameras. So yeah, again, if you're interested in learning more from me directly, I have in-person workshops for wide field astrophotography, or you can just subscribe to my channel. If you just want to find out more about me, I have all of my links down below here. And yeah, thank you for joining today. Hope this was helpful.